Okay, good morning, everybody. We are actually entering into conversations with health. So, what this presentation is about, we will be looking at craniosacral therapy as, as one of the modalities that we can use to access health and have a conversation with health. Okay. Many of you are already, clients at the clinic, and you have been on the journey with craniosacral therapy, the biodynamic approach, and been, actively involved in recognizing how the forces of health show up, and to be able to see in real time how the nervous system is regulating itself as you are in the session and you're observing it. And that's a beautiful experience because you're in direct touch with the forces of health. So I call that in conversations with health. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you biodynamic craniosacral therapy, conversing with health. Okay, I'm a recognized and approved teacher. I've been in the work for 25 years. I've had my certification with ICSP Switzerland and North America, and I'm working in Mumbai, India. And now with craniosacral therapy, as the name suggests, it starts at the cranium and ends at the sacrum. This is, it is housed within the brain and spinal cord. And in deep brain structures, we have a fluid circulation. There is the circulation of spinal fluid, which is produced in the brain and circulates down along the spinal cord and through the nerves coming out of the brain and spinal cord. It moves out into the rest of the body. Thereby, the circulation of cerebrospinal fluid is also in relationship with the rest of the body. Cerebrospinal fluid is known to have highest qualities for health. It's made of proteins, amino acids, essential minerals, and it's vital for the aliveness and the health of the brain and spinal cord, keeping the central nervous system alive. So the circulation, unrestricted circulation of cerebrospinal fluid is vital for the health of the entire body. And that is called the craniosacral system. Here are some images of a cross-section of deep brain structures where we can see the production of cerebrospinal fluid in the ventricles and its circulation within the brain and around the brain and spinal cord. And here are some more images of blood circulation. And blood, there is a blood-brain barrier. So at deep brain structures and of the spinal cord, we have cerebrospinal fluid that is supporting the nourishment of these nerve tissues, not the blood. So there is a blood-brain barrier, and then we have the circulation of CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. So for an unrestricted circulation of CSF, we need to have an unrestricted structure. And, keeping the health and maintaining the alignment of the spine, the decompression and disengagement of spinal vertebrae is almost vital to the circulation of spinal fluid. So we work a lot along the cranium and spine, opening up structures so that the membranes can be free, the bones can be free, and that supports good circulation of all fluids and specifically the cerebrospinal fluid. Here is another image of the structure of our body. And it's important to know the relationship between anatomy and physiology of form and function. This is a form and shape of the body, and having the shape of the body in its inherent alignment and unrestricted allows for unrestricted healthy function. So the anatomy of the body supports the physiology. the physiological functions. Here are some dermatomes. It shows how segments from the spine, there are nerve segments that from the spine are reaching out to the entire periphery of the body. And so how different parts of the spine are connected to different regions of the body. And thereby the health of the spine is directly connected to the health of the whole body. Here is an image of our 12 cranial nerves. They emerge from the brain stem, which is just at the base of the cranium and the upper part of our neck. And keeping this area, the base of the cranium, free and unrestricted. You know, a lot of us have this neck tension that can really create a lot of compression patterns at the cranial base and vice versa. So in craniosacral therapy, as we free up these areas, we're able to support the circulation, the nerve circulation of vital cranial nerves, which innervate all our sensory organs, including regulatory functions of heart, lungs, digestion. So as Dr. James Jellis says, he's doctor of osteopathy and from the lineage of the father of cranial osteopathy, Dr. Sutherland. And he says at least 80% of all conditions that people see doctors for revolve around the autonomic nervous system, which is this. The autonomic nervous system autonomically supports all our sensory organs. We don't voluntarily choose to see or hear or smell. It is involuntary. We don't voluntarily decide, now my body will digest or now it will stop digesting. It just digests food. The salivary glands are also involuntary. Our breathing and our heart regulation are all involuntary functions. Fluid circulation, nutrition assimilation, these are all vital involuntary functions that is keeping us alive and regulated every day. And so this is an autonomic nervous system that functions with its own innate intelligence. And if we keep our autonomic nervous system healthy, 80% of the times we can skip going to a medical practitioner for specific treatment. This is Dr. William Garner Sutherland. He's the originator and the father of cranial osteopathy. And through his work came the understanding of biodynamic health. He recognized the body as not mechanical, but dynamic. So when we look at the body as a dynamic organism, biologically dynamic organism, we differentiate it from a machine that operates mechanically. In this work, we recognize the relationship between structure and function, anatomy and physiology. So anatomy supports physiology, physiology supports function. The relationship between form and function, structure and purpose is an ongoing dialogue in our system. And we can see that in how our body is created and shaped. Starting from top to bottom, and then we'll go from bottom to top again. But let's just start with what we can sense most clearly. Our bones, the form, it provides the function of shape. Our joints, they provide mobility. Muscles give the function of strength. Fascia is connective tissue. Fascia and nerves provide connection. It connects all different parts of the body. Fluids like blood, lymph, CSF, they provide transportation, circulation. They're transporting all vital minerals, nutrients, amino acids, all hormones, all of this through the circulation. Important nutrients are being transported to our entire body. Organs give physiology, like lungs will give us breathing, heart will give circulation, stomach will give digestion. And then we have forces. These are vital life forces. They may be dormant or active. And forces give us purpose to live this human life. So when our vital forces are low, we even sense that our sense of purpose is low. We don't have that the boost to get up and get out and live our life. We go into a bit of a physical depression. So it's very important to also know that all these structures are enlivened and kept alive with life forces, the vitality of life forces, which gives us a purpose of how we show up in this human life. And all of these structures and forms are supported in biodynamic craniosacral therapy. So we may have a mechanical structure, but we have dynamic functions. So we are biodynamic systems. Our biology is in a continuous dynamic state of change as it adapts to the environment within and outside. Now, this is really at the heart of the work that we do. Biodynamic model of health recognizes that health is always present. The blueprint design of our body is to function in health and not in disease. The body does everything to return to health. If we injure ourselves, if we get a cut, it is the body's innate intelligence to clot and stop the bleeding. If we have a broken bone, all the bone cells will ossify to join the brokenness of the bone, to join the fracture. This is part of the innate intelligence. When we are tired, the body will fall asleep. When the body has enough sleep, it will naturally wake up. We don't need an external intelligence to switch us on or switch us off. It is an innate intelligence that calls us to live this life with our purpose. So the relationship between form and function is integral to facilitate health, and the design of our body is naturally self-regulating, self-restoring, self-correcting, self-healing, self-maintaining. When we remember this, then we don't so much or so frequently need to reach out for support. We start to bring our energy and our attention inside the body and observe, how does our body show up for ourselves? The body is a web of connections and operates as one unit of function. Supporting the body in wholeness allows the inherent intelligence of the system to self-correct. This is the father of osteopathy, and from osteopathy came cranial osteopathy. That was by Dr. Sutherland. Dr. Sutherland was a student of Dr. Andrew Taylor Stills. And he says the first objective of a practitioner is to find health in an individual. Disease, anybody can find. So if we change our viewing lens and we look for health rather than looking for disease, that changes the way we address health. We observe what works. We perceive the body in its wholeness, not in fragmentation, not in part, but in wholeness. We are a web of connections, and recent work in fascia makes us understand, the recent studies with fascia health makes us understand. And are there really 600 muscles in the body, or one large muscle wrapped up in 600 fascial pockets, bundles of fascia? To understand how our body is connected as a web of connections, and all joints, all the way from the cranium to the toe, is in relationship with one another. Here is a little animation that you can see. You can see how the bones move from the jaw down to the neck. Look at the movement of the spine, the shoulders, the hips. Yeah. So if one structure goes out of balance, all structures are compensating for that imbalance so that the body can still have good function. Remember, this compensation is an act for maintaining health. So the body is always going to support function. We can look at this again. It starts from the jaw. It's the most common thing. A lot of us have jaw issues, all kinds of issues of the jaw. But how does the whole body support that? Some of us may have an injury at the level of the hips or shoulder or neck, and all structures will respond to that in relationship so that function doesn't stop. Function continues. However, over time, the compensations will start to get really tired and there will be a lot of wear and tear. And then we start seeing symptoms. We don't see symptoms immediately. But that also shows us how our body is showing up for us in this web of relationship connections of all structures. Here you can see from the jaw, neck, shoulders, spine, hips, compensation patterns. And this is what we treat. So when somebody comes with these compensation patterns, we're not treating just the shoulder or just the hip. We're treating the wholeness of the body. And just like we have the skeletal system connected, we have fascia systems connected, all the way from the tongue. Its fascial connections go all the way to our toes. So if we have a restriction anywhere in the front of our body, in our respiratory diaphragm or in our throat structures or tongue structures, we're going to feel it down to the pelvic, into the knees, all the way into our ankles. And this is just the image of the front deep midline fascia from the tongue all the way down to our toes. And biodynamic craniosacral therapy has its most unique method of supporting the body as one unit of function and not in fragmentation of parts. So we perceive the body in wholeness. We support what is working. We're not concentrating on the symptoms, but as we work with the intelligence of health that is already at work, the body starts to take care of itself. So just a quick look through of, here is the cranium. You can see all the different colors of the bones showing that these are so many different bones, and the joints between the bones are called sutures. And we have important muscle, fascia, ligament connections between the sutures of the bones and joints. And we also have important nerves that passage through these sutures, innervating muscles, ligaments, or organs into function. So the unrestricted form of the cranium is vital for good function of all the muscles, ligaments, and organs, and thereby good physiology of our system. That is bones, when it's disarticulated, all the bones of our skull. In the training, we will be looking at this. Study each bone, see how it articulates with other bones, what nerves passage through, what muscles are attached to it, and how it's connected to the rest of the body, not just locally in that part. And that's an infant skull. Very often we have compressions at birth, and these compressions are much more than what the body can decompress on its own. when this is not treated in our infancy or childhood, these compression patterns carry through in adulthood. And as you already saw earlier with the skeletal structure, the body shows up with compensations to compensate for these additional compression forces. And it still performs good function until when we're older and it starts to get tired, and then symptoms emerge. So working in biodynamic craniosacral therapy, we are able to address compression forces from birth or birth trauma imprints that are still in the body while, individuals come in early teenage years or as young adults or even as elderly individuals. Here is again another view of the brain stem and the 12 pairs of cranial nerves innervating all our vital functions for survival. The craniosacral is really gentle, it's non-invasive, it's holistic, it's complementary to all other therapies and conventional medical modalities. It feels like a pleasurable experience. It feels nice to receive a session. It supports the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, which means that it works in a state of deep rest and relaxation. So clients feel deeply relaxed, in and out of sleep, somewhere here and there, awakened to their body inside, while they may be asleep to the environment outside. There is a different awakening that happens to us in our sessions. And that's a very beautiful experience to meet our body from inside. I'm going to pause this. So here is a question for all of you. And this inquiry, it's an inquiry, okay? Which means a question has an answer, but an inquiry has an exploration. So I'm bringing this inquiry to you, and you explore with it in yourself. Okay? And we can have a little discussion about it, and then I'll go back to the presentation to look at this inquiry. So, and this inquiry is the crux of the work that we do of biodynamic craniosacral therapy. What breeds us? Just check in with yourself. What breeds us? Any answers? I'd love for this to be interactive.
No idea.
No idea.
I know that I breathe air, but what breathe?
That's, you're already on the right path. Because often a lot of people will say, yeah, my lungs breathe me. Yeah. And then we take the inquiry further and we say, but what makes the lung breathe you? So there's something called primary respiration. Now, our lung breathing, which is also known as pulmonary breathing, our lung breathing is secondary respiration. Primary respiration is what came before our lungs were formed. And before our lungs were formed, who were we? Do you have an idea how you were or what you looked like before your lungs were formed? Or where you were? Where were you before your lungs were formed? We were in our mom's womb. Yeah. We were fertilized. We became an embryo. We were moving down the fallopian tube, dropping into the uterus before getting attached to mom's uterine wall. But while we were making that whole journey as a tiny microscopic organism, we were already breathing. And there was no access to air. There was no attachment to mom that we were getting oxygen from mom's body. We were making that journey alone from being fertilized through the fallopian tube, coming down and doing that leap of faith to drop into the inner wall of our mom's uterus, which becomes our fertile soil in which we will implant ourselves and start to create attachments with mom. And then the food and oxygen and nutrition starts to come to us. But before that, as an embryo, we were making this journey on our own. We were alive and we were breathing. And that breath is called the breath of life. So I'm going to go back to the presentation to show you just a few visuals of our origin. And this is important because when we're working with craniosacral therapy, we are orienting to the forces that breathe us. Our primary respiration, before the lungs were formed and could breathe air, and before we were attached to mom and getting oxygen through her blood, our primary respiration was breathing us. We go back to the screen. So we're looking at the embryo as a symbol of wholeness. And as we already saw in the presentation earlier, that wholeness is a key orientation of recognizing health. That health exists in wholeness, not in fragmentation or part. We're designed to function in wholeness. And we're going to look at the formation and the journey of the embryo as a symbol of wholeness of health. So the embryo is moment by moment a perfect reflection of life forces in action. And these are real images of embryos. It comes from a lab that was taking images of a rat's embryo. And so these are microscopic images photographed. But, you know, rats and mice are mammals, so we all pretty much function the same way. In embryology, when we look at the forces of health, the study of embryology reflects to us that wholeness, we are whole from the beginning. The forces of embodiment are made visible in the embryo. The embryo acts as a symbol to recognize forming, shaping, creating forces in action. The embryo develops in response to naturally occurring rhythmic forces moving through the fluids and the forming matter. Here is before conception, when we have a sperm cell and we have an egg cell. And then this is at the time of, you know, the sperm meeting the egg before fertilization, and at the process of one single sperm being chosen for fertilization. And then when fertilization happens and the sperm and the egg unite and they become whole, they become one, that becomes the beginning of us, our journey here. Today we're sitting here and we're looking back of when we started out and the polarities met. And at that beginning, we are one. We are whole. We are translucent, transparent, made of fluidic protoplasm. We are multiplying, floating, journeying. We are being moved through the passages inside and we are generating our own momentum. Life forces move us, and we generate our own momentum. What was happening then is happening even now. We are still whole. Yeah. I want to look at this again as this was then, but it is also now. Now also we are one unit of function. Now also we are whole. Now also we are transparent, translucent beings. We can see, be seen, deep within and beyond. We can show up transparently without having to put too many barriers and screens or veils between us when we show up in wholeness and health. And we are made of fluidic protoplasm. Even today, we are almost 90% fluid. And we're continuously multiplying. Yeah, our cellular regeneration is continuously happening, just as it happened at our beginning. We were floating then in our mom's womb. We are floating now in life, kind of floating, browsing. We think, something calls us, something moves us, and we have our own momentum that generates our journey. And we are being breathed by the breath of life, like it happened then, and it's continuously happening all through and now. I want you to take a deep breath and recognize this is pulmonary breath. This is lung breathing. So in primary respiration, also there is inhalation and exhalation. And these are forces that are from inside, stretching the organism out and contracting it in. There are centripetal and centrifugal forces at work. So just like in lung breathing, we have an inhalation, exhalation. There's an expansion away from the center and a retraction to the center. In the same way as our system, our whole body is being breathed, this is involuntary, this is autonomic. As it's being breathed by primary respiration, the forces of life, there is a experience of overall in our whole body, not just in our lungs, in our whole body, there's an experience of expansion, like we're just kind of spreading, growing out away from our center, which is the spine, and then a retraction towards the center, towards our spine in exhalation. And this is not lung breathing. Lung breathing is happening at its own rhythm. But this primary respiration is much slower. It's much more subtle. And this respiration is what supports all autonomic functions in our body. When we have a lot of, illness, disease, long-term compression patterns, restriction patterns, it kind of diffuses the availability of vitality and vital life forces in our body. So it kind of diffuses our primary respiration, which then has an effect on the system feeling diffused. Primary respiration is available in full potential, but the anatomy of our body, the structure of our body, the tissues and the cells, if they are restricted, they cannot be carriers of these vital life forces to express themselves in the body in wholeness. And one of the most unique things that biodynamic craniosacral therapy can do for our systems is open the system to breathe our primary vital respiration. That allows us for ever-changing, unfolding into health. And the embryo, moment by moment, is a perfect reflection of life forces in action. We look the same from a cosmic lens and from a micro lens. As above, so below. These are real images of the embryo with some cell mass above and below and lots of fluids in between, very much like Earth. Yeah? All living bodies have the same kind of organizational force intelligence. That's through the fallopian tube. We see the embryo as a microscopic, multi-celled organism, making that journey, being moved and moving with its own momentum. And then, all this we will look at in our training, in our course, but moving ahead, coming into finally, when we become a fetus, we are still round and we are still connected. We have many parts, but all parts are in a unified, connected function of health. And just like the galaxies out there, we have the same design in us and in nature and all forces of creation. The wholeness of the alive embryo is the closest image of the matrix of health, made visible in every time. Okay. How are you all doing? I want to know from this presentation, what was most, what made most impression to you? What was most impressionable to you personally? We all kind of have an imprint with something that we experience, and it says something about where we are on this journey. So I'd like to hear from you.
For me, it was about the body having its own innate intelligence. It was also about that instead of looking for disease within ourselves, so we look for health within ourselves. And if that would mean for me is not looking at a particular aspects where it might be troubling you, but I look at the body in its holistic thing as one unit which is still functioning despite maybe some minor issues or major issues here and there.
Okay. And that's a great takeaway. It will help you to move inside yourself for help and support of your own symptoms before reaching out for more.
I think for me, what spoke to me was just understanding the existence of life and life functioning so smoothly, even before what we've been taught that science says is the beginning of life. For me, just to understand that there's so much life even in a microscopic organism, and to you kind of disregard certain aspects of human life as just chemical or just random, whereas there's so much life happening even in those moments. So that was really eye-opening.
Thank you. And Nirali has shared something on text, how the body compensates and is compassionate. I have to put on my specs for this. How the body compensates and is compassionate towards the parts which has dysfunction so that life functions smoothly. Yeah, that's beautiful. So in the training, we're looking at this relationship, because when we look at symptoms, we're not looking at symptoms as, oh, what has gone wrong? We're looking at the symptom as, this is an expression of a compensation that the body has done to function in health, to show up in life. Not something wrong. Symptoms are not that something's gone wrong. Symptoms are just an expression of what the body is needing deeper support with. Now, I know some of you are here to also just understand the work because you all have been clients and you've had lovely experiences and there's some mystery about it. And some of you are here to also know more about the training. So if you have any questions about the training or the training structure, now is a great time to check, to inquire about that. Also, everything is already there on the website, but we're really happy to answer more specific questions. Okay, so I'm just reading the question on the text. Will it be completely offline or can it be online as well? Also, any prerequisite to join the training? Yeah. So all of this information is on the website. Have you, wherever, Ranjan, wherever you got, now the training is it is an in-person training because we have to do hands-on work in person. A lot of the theory teaching will happen online. So whatever we're learning about the theory of the body, physiology, those things we will do as online so that when we meet in person, we can concentrate on the practical, the actual physical hands-on practice. And the in-person training is residential. It is at a really beautiful naturalistic naturopathy wellness spa in Karjat. That's about 2 hours from Bombay. And we will be there for 3 nights and 3.5 days. And mostly that will be hands-on practice. And the online days that happen a week before every module is theory.
Yeah, I actually, I checked the website, and that is why I was confused. Only these 3 days will be a hands-on practice. Otherwise, the course will be online, right?
Yeah, so we have 12 modules,
Hmm.
and each module has in-person schedule.
Okay. Okay.
Typically, every module on a Monday we'll have every 4 to 6 weeks we meet. So Monday will be online day, I think. Yeah, and then the next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be in person. Friday, everybody leaves. And then again, after 1 month, we will meet online for 1 day and the next week for 3 days in person. So that's the structure in general.
Okay. Actually, I'm in Vadodara, Gujarat. That's why I was.
Yeah, so a lot of people coming from different parts.
Okay.
And so the residential is easy. There's an airport very close by. There's a new airport in Bombay that's opened. And that's very close to this center. So it's about a 40-minute drive or 45-minute drive from the airport. So you don't have to land in Bombay. You land in the Panvel airport. So a lot of people coming from out of town. And that's why we've kept it residential. So you don't have to find another place to stay, then travel through Bombay traffic and for the training. You're in one place.
All right. Thanks.
Zia, I had a question about, since it's such subtle work, how, I don't know how to articulate this. How will we know if we have capacity to actually do the work? I guess my question is, what if we finish the course after 2 years and find that we do not have that kind
Oh
of.
my God, that will be the terrible reflection on me, firstly. We're not waiting for 2 years to know whether you can sense the rhythm or not. We want you to sense the rhythm in the first module or the second,
Okay.
right? Now, I'm going to answer this through science and then through, practice and experience. In science, we recognize we have afferent and efferent nerves in our body. So afferent nerves are nerves that we sense from the environment out into the body. We sense it. Afferent nerves are when the brain gives a signal for action. So if I'm going to pick up a hot cup of tea, I'm using afferent nerves to pick it up. That's muscle action. I'm using afferent nerves on my hands to sense that this is hot, right? And we see children doing it. Children will reach out and then they feel the heat. Already afferent nerves are getting active and informing the brain, watch out, it's hot. Then they want to push the boundaries and they want to touch it and they go out and yeah. So that's already having a sensory experience of sensations, hot, cold, sharp, dull, pleasant, all those experiences that we have of sensory. In our body, our hands, both our palms and fingers, have the maximum number of afferent nerves than any other part of the body. So if you see how we live life, when we want to connect to something, we connect with our hands. Right? Children want to touch everything. One of the first primal reflexes is to hold and bring to the mouth, but it's this primal reflex. So they want to hold, touch. That's how we know the world, right? And interestingly, when somebody is unwell and when we want to soothe someone, we don't go and soothe them with our feet. Right? We soothe them. The most instinctive thing is to put our hand on them and soothe them. And everyone feels soothed with somebody's hand on us, right? And when we hold hands with our loved ones, with our family or our friends, we hold hands, there is so much happening between two people when we're just holding hands. So much communication is happening. So my reason for explaining this to you is that every human body has the capacity to sense and feel. Some people may not have the interest to put their attention on it, and they don't want to come and be craniosacral therapists. They're working in a corporate office as accountants, lawyers, engineers, whatever. They're not interested in healing people. But when there is an interest that I want to get into therapeutics and hands-on therapeutics, because your interest is there, your attention is on your hands, your attention is in the presence, and we're teaching you the technique of how to sense. That's on us. So you will not be waiting for 2 years to find out whether you can feel or not. We will be teaching you how to sense in the first module, because you have to do the practice for the training, practice on other people, tell us what you sense, and we will be doing hands-on feedback. Assistants hands on your hands when you are on a client, and we give you feedback, you give us feedback. So there's a lot of precision in that training. We don't leave it to you, to your imagination, whether you can sense or not. We're there to really help you and guide you. I'm going to call Zenobia and Shabana. Are you there? Join us, put your videos on. So Zenobia and Shabana are assistants in our training. And they will, we also have Sujata, we have Nita. So we have a good team, and we will all be involved in a very personal way on your journey to sense, feel, learn, work therapeutically. And mostly the beginning of the training is a lot of therapeutics for our own selves, because as practitioners, if I'm not healthy, or if I've got all my patterns and my imprints that are in the foreground of my awareness, I can't be a good practitioner. So the first 2-3 modules is a lot about understanding ourselves, learning our own imprints, healing ourselves through one another in class. And then we dive in much more into the craniosacral anatomy, physiology. Then the work gets a lot more, science-based with anatomy, physiology. But the first 3 modules are sweet and beautiful. So even those who may not want to do the whole training, but want to come to learn life skills, it's a life skill understanding health, then the first 3 modules are great even for that. Okay, anybody else? Any questions?
Yeah, hi. I have a couple of questions. I wanted to know about, in the training, there are hours of practice that we need to do as a student. So after which module does that start, offering sessions, the practice sessions, basically?
Yeah, after the first module already.
Okay. Okay.
Immediately.
All
But
right.
we tell you, please start searching. So these are non-charge sessions. You're not allowed to charge for
Yeah.
any sessions during this time. And in the
Yeah.
beginning, first 4 modules, we are telling you to search and find people, mammals, humans, mammals. Some people find dogs, cows. Mostly, it's the same mammalian system. But find human mammals who are healthy, right? Now,
Mm.
that can sometimes be a bit of a search in today's time because everyone's identified with illness. But generally, not, I mean, after your first module, you don't want to go work with somebody who has terminal cancer, right? You want to work with somebody who just wants some support, simple support in their life, relaxation. So work on healthy body so you learn what the expression of health is. When you learn what the expression of health is sufficiently, and then you work on bodies that have a lot of disease and imbalance, you know where to take this body. You already have an understanding of what health is and how to bring this body back to health. So the first 3, 4 modules, we tell you to find healthy bodies and work with them.
Okay. The other question that I had is that if something if we have a personal health issue and that in terms of energy, because then this is also something that we will keep doing and we are working also on our health, but there are health issues, then would it be a work that one should get into if the health issues are chronic nature? Yeah.
Sorry, you were breaking. Just ask me the last part of the question again.
Yeah, so I'm saying that if the health issues are more chronic in nature, and there is, so then the energy is affected, the health is affected at times. So then would this work be, would I have the energy to do work? Because, it does take
Oh,
a lot.
yeah, good question. You can ask Zenobia, Shabana, they've been through the training. We had people who came in with such severe health conditions, like really severe health conditions. Actually, they were my patients. I told them, look, whether you become a practitioner or not, just come for the first 3, 4 modules. In the training, you'll get better. Then you decide. Of course, then they loved it so much, they became practitioners. So, through the training, uh, a lot of our health issues get deeply resolved because we're getting into such deep, intense work, and which is so different from one session in 20 days, right? But this really goes deep. So we, especially the first 3 modules, we are really taking time for each person to find access and gateways to their own deeper health and be able to stay with it. That I know my pathway to my health inside now. I'm not going to be lost. I don't need to be dependent on outside therapies to know that access to health inside myself. I got it. Yeah. This is a journey. And symptoms will keep happening. Life will keep showing up. Illnesses will keep coming. But we always have that access, the doorway to our health inside. Always. And that's us. That's me as an individual. I'm going to get a migraine, a blinding headache, and I have 9 sessions in the clinic. Yeah, but through that migraine, I work through the day because I'm also in access with my health at the same time. So we learn this, and that's a real big turning point for a lot of participants to be able to discover that. And I want to ask Zenobia or Shabana if you want to share something on that regard.
Um,
Yeah, Shabana.
So like Zia rightly said, we've had like students with like, acute problems, issues, and in that course of training, we have seen a dynamic change. Like they are able to do that self-care because you become so close to your own body. You understand your system so well that you're able to go ahead and do a lot of regulations before even seeking for help on the outside. And yeah, it's something that, gets the perspective in front of you as into what's really going on, where we might feel, oh, it is just a shoulder problem or anything like we discussed in the course. But the problem could be something completely different, and you are in contact with it. So it definitely works.
Yeah, Zenobia.
And to add to what Shabana said, because there's a lot of nervous system regulation that starts right from the very beginning. Even when listening into the theory, it may feel a little overwhelming. And then when one gets into the practical of it and receives sessions within the training program itself, and then in the practice sessions, there's a whole lot of nervous system regulation that starts happening. And with that, a lot of the guarded aspects of the body, the defenses of the body start releasing, and it makes the work a lot more receptive, the body a lot more receptive to the work. So a lot of it is, in the beginning, a lot of it is self-help. And then gradually you start understanding your body better, your system better. And with that, there's a whole lot of, as we call in somatic work, our resilience that kind of grows, and we're able to do a lot more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was one of my concerns as well, because I feel I already sense the dysregulation that I'm already functioning in. So I think that was the concern of like, will I be able to regulate myself enough to be able to do this work?
Yeah, I mean, we have to see, regulation is not a point. It is a continuous process. We're continuously having to regulate ourselves. But we learn as practitioners, because that's what practitioners are meant to do, how to self-regulate, how to access our own regulatory mechanisms inside ourselves without having to constantly have the environment or other individuals or other therapies regulate us, right? That's a really beautiful life skill to have. So that's an integral part of the training for practitioners to learn that. Practitioners are expected to have that. So we spend a lot of time developing that for all the students. It's integral. And Rochelle, you asked a question on the chat about the certification. So I'm now an approved international teacher. So all my students get an international diploma, and your diploma will be listed on the international registration directory, which is on with one organization in North America and another organization which is called BCTI, that's originated in UK. I'm one of the founding members there. So you will be, plus you will be, all practitioners will also be on my website, those who start to intern or practice with Quanta Clinic. So all practitioners will be on international websites with their certifications to practice. So it recognizes you as an on a very high level international competence practitioner training. And every country, having said that, every country has its own laws. So in America, you have to have you have to be a licensed massage therapist before you can practice any other hands-on treatment modality. That's the law in America. And they only recognize any training done in America. So anybody practicing in America, this craniosacral diploma will hold good, but an individual will have to get a massage therapy license. Anybody practicing in UK or most countries in Europe should not be a problem where the diploma is concerned, but what the country needs in terms of insurance, practitioner insurance, those kind of things, those are specific to the country. In India, you can just start practicing. In India, the government does not interfere, but what I love about India is the people will let you know your competence, right? So if you're good, everybody comes to you. If you're not good, nobody's stopping you. So that's the truth of the work eventually. The government is not deciding. Just your work will show it to you. And that's in India. Okay. Okay, so if no more questions, then we will be in touch. My office will now let you know, send you, those who have not filled the registration form, we will send you a reminder with a link to the registration form. We need to start registering ourselves, signing up for the first 3 modules, or you want a nice big discount for the whole training, then you can pay for the whole training in advance. And we also have on the 12th of September a hands-on introduction. So those of you who are in Bombay, or those of you who want to come to Bombay, wherever you are, come for a day. We have a 3-hour introductory program. It's in person. It's on a Saturday on 12th September. We're going to do hands-on work. So we put out tables. It's in a very beautiful setup at Om Life Wellness Center in Worli. And some of you were already there when you all came for the last, our graduating students who were giving sessions in the same place. So if you want to try out, listening to the breath of life, listening to primary respiration, the craniosacral rhythm, what does this mean? Can the afferent nerves on my hand sense it? So come for that. That'll be a really good experience for you. Yeah. Also for those of you who are from out of town on this meeting, come for a day to Bombay. It will be lovely to meet you, and it'll just give you more understanding of the work before you sign up for a big commitment. Okay, so we'll be in touch with you all on WhatsApp, and thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.